Hi everyone, my name is Jenna and I am so excited because today I'm going to be reacting to the film Fargo. I have never seen this movie. It is something that has been basically the most popular movie about Minnesota ever. I have lived in Minnesota most of my life since I was about 1 year old, and my whole family's from here for like 3 or 4 generations. I have seen many of the Coen brothers films as I went to film school and we watched a ton of them, but I've never seen Fargo. I have seen the TV show and I really liked it. I'm not afraid of, violence. I've seen a lot of violent shows. So that's not an issue. I don't know why. I just never saw this movie and I'm almost 30 years old and I feel like it's time. And I wanted to react to it live with you on this video so you can see my pure reaction. I am going to be obviously giving commentary about things that they mention. So just be prepared for that. I'm not just going to sit and watch the whole thing straight off. I'm obviously going to pause it and talk about it because they might mention things that I know about or something. So let's just get into the movie. Oh, and also, the Coen brothers actually grew up in St. Louis Park, which is where my mom grew up. And they were the exact same age. So I don't think my mom knew them, but I think they ended up going to a different school. But I just thought that was kind of cool that my mom and them grew up in the same city. So her life experience and their life experience growing up was probably pretty similar because they lived in the same town. So let's just get started. Okay, so the one thing that I've noticed is I believe they actually filmed this in Minnesota as well as parts of Canada. Driving in the snow is very rough. I don't like doing it, and it's something that definitely seems like this whole thing was filmed in the winter, which not a lot of movies are because it's very hard to film in the snow.
I'm Jerry Lundegaard.
You're Jerry Lundegaard?
Yeah. Shep Proudfoot said.
Shep said you'd be here at 7:30. What gives, man?
Okay, so the one thing about this movie that kind of has impacted America's view of Minnesota is the accents, obviously. And I'll be honest, there are some really strong Minnesota accents the further out of the cities that you get. I don't think I have that strong of an accent, but I also have more of a Minnesota accent than probably somebody not from Minnesota. I will say my grandparents and a lot of their friends definitely have a pretty strong accent, but I don't think it's this strong. This almost seems like they're trying so hard to get the accent right, but it almost seems like it's kind of a joke. Well, we'll see how it goes. Hey.
Hon?
Hi, hon. Welcome back. How is Fargo?
Yeah, real good.
Dad's here.
Okay, people that live in Minneapolis do not sound like this.
How you doing, Wade?
Yeah, pretty good.
What you watching there?
Go first.
Who they playing?
Okay, so hockey is a huge thing here, and the Gophers obviously are a really good team. There's also the UMD Bulldogs, which are just as good, and University of Minnesota Duluth. And I actually knew one of the Gopher hockey players. I went to high school with him, and then he ended up going into the NHL. Actually, there's a couple. So my high school was a huge hockey high school. We had some really, really good hockey players, and a lot of them have gone into the NHL. So hockey is something a lot of people here do watch.
That deal I was talking about, those 40 acres there in Wayzata?
You told me about it.
Yeah, you said you'd have to think about it.
Okay, so Wayzata is a city really close to me, actually. 40 acres. Wayzata is like pretty much like there's enough. I mean, this is also supposed to be the 80s, but pretty much Wayzata is pretty much settled. So 40 acres is quite a bit. Wayzata is like basically the Hamptons of Minnesota. It's like super expensive. Most of it's on Lake Minnetonka. And what's cool is they actually said it right, because a lot of people say Wayzata wrong. They say Wayzata, but obviously it's Wayzata. And obviously because the Coen brothers are directing this movie, they know how to pronounce things, so they make sure that the actors are saying it right. Okay, so Paul Bunyan is a huge Minnesota legend. If you've never heard of him, he is basically just like a symbol of Minnesota. It's basically he has this blue ox and he wears plaid shirt and has the axe. There's actually a place called Paul Bunyan Land that I don't think it still exists anymore. It might. I have pictures. I'm going to insert them here. But me and my brother would go to this Paul Bunyan Land. I believe it was in Brainerd area. And growing up, and you'd walk in and they would say your name. This huge like figure would say your name. And it freaked me out so much because I'm like, how does it know my name? And basically my parents wrote my name and my brother's name on the sheet of paper. And then some guy does the voiceover, but as a kid, it like totally freaked me out, but it was really exciting too. The fact that Paul Bunyan knew my name. So there's a lot of statues all around the state of Minnesota of Paul Bunyan.
We're back with Katie Carlson.
Hi.
Now, before we get going here, we just want to remind all of our viewers at home that this March, for the second year in a row, Katie and I, along with Twin City Travel, will be leading a 2-week riverboat trip down the Nile. It's a terrific time. I know you've heard about it, and we want all of you to come with.
This kind of reminds me of what's now called Twin Cities Live, which is actually something I've been on. I got to be interviewed on Twin Cities Live twice last year. And basically it's like these two co-hosts and they have all these segments and it looks like it's on in the afternoon here. She's watching it. But yeah, that reminds me of that back in the day.
And pick this up.
Right.
This is an empty egg.
That's right, Dale.
Well, how do you get the egg? There was an egg in here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, how do you, I mean, you don't have an
Okay, so this is a very Minnesota thing to do in the winter is the snow and ice get so covered with our windshields on our cars that we have to have this little device to scrape it off. And, you know, sometimes I don't know why I don't have it in my car, especially like the first snow. And so you have to either use your arms or something. I've definitely driven with like a small hole at the front of so I could actually see out of it, but like I don't have time or it's just too cold to wipe off the rest of my windshield. I'm hoping my next car, I'm going to have a bunch more like heating options. So both a remote start as well as heated seats and just better things that will help get my car just less defrosted faster. But this is definitely a true Minnesotan thing that happens. That happens to me too. Testing.
Yeah?
Prowler needs a jump.
So if it gets too cold in Minnesota, your car can just not start sometimes. That's happened to me before. Usually you want to make sure you have at least half your tank full because the gas can literally freeze. So in the winter, I make sure I always have half my gas tank full. But yeah, that definitely happens a lot around here.
So, oh, jeez. Here's the second one. It's in the head and the hand there. I guess that's a defensive wound.
Oh, yeah? You had breakfast yet, Margie?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, this is like I mean, I'm sure that this is supposed to be like a weird thing, but like usually there would be way more police here. They obviously like are not very reacted to it when obviously triple homicides do not happen a lot. So I'm not exactly sure what the tone is supposed to be here. I'm sure it's satire, but it's just kind of weird. Just don't really get it.
Ah, Norm made some eggs.
Yeah, real good now. How you doing?
Okay, now, we'll get the money.
Okay, so this is another thing that I don't know if it's Minnesotan or American or whatever, but usually people are like, "How you doing?" Like they don't really need an answer. They just say like, "Hi, how are you?" And then they go, "Good, how are you?" And that's just kind of like the greeting. You know, but I feel like lately in the last like year or so, people have actually been telling people what they feel because this year has been crazy. But yeah, so that's just something that is super common.
Together. Don't worry about it, Jerry. Now, do you want anyone at home with you till they call?
No, they don't want, they were just supposed to be dealing with me. They're real clear.
Okay, I know exactly where this is. So, Xenia, I lived right off of this street. So this is actually in St. Louis Park, which is where the Coen brothers grew up. So I actually worked right off of Xenia Parkway. So weird. I think that, I don't know, this is again was like 25 years ago when they filmed this movie, or no, yeah, probably around, it was filmed in like 97, 95. So yeah, probably about 20, 25 years ago they filmed this movie. I'm not sure what was there, but I have a feeling they might have filmed it at like a Perkins because that's what it looks like on the inside of that diner, but I know this area still exists.
Margie. What are those, night crawlers?
Yeah,
Oh, thanks, Tom.
you bet.
Okay, so if you don't know what night crawlers are, they are for fishing, basically a type of worm. In Minnesota, fishing is a huge thing here. I mean, there's so many lakes, and even in the winter, ice fishing is hugely popular. I've only done it one time, and it just wasn't fun for me. I don't really like fishing in the summer, so she probably got that at like the local store to get some night crawlers.
Thanks for lunch. Oh, yeah, looks pretty good. What do we got here?
Yeah, we both did. She went to college, too.
I went to Normandale for about a year and a half,
Yeah, that's where we met.
but I dropped.
Okay, so Normandale's the community college in Bloomington. I actually took some classes there back in 2009 when I was a senior in high school. Actually, I think it was the summer before I went off to college. They had some web design classes. So that is probably one of the biggest community colleges in the state. So that's where they went.
Out though.
Yeah, she dropped.
Yeah,
So where you girls from?
Chaska.
Le Sueur, but I went to high school in White Bear Lake.
Okay, so Chaska, which is not near White Bear Lake or Le Sueur. Well, so Chaska is like southwest of me, and then White Bear Lake is like super far northeast. I'm not even sure where Le Sueur is, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
Go Bears.
Okay. I want you to tell me what these fellas look like.
Oh, don't you just miss going to buffets? I mean, I remember this before COVID. We were able to go. Also, Swedish meatballs are a really big thing here. Obviously, a lot of Swedish people live in Minnesota. I myself am one of them. We usually get ours from IKEA because they're really good.
Oh, yeah? Is it reasonable?
Okay, so the airport is located in Bloomington, kind of on the edge of St. Paul, and it is international airport, and it's definitely kind of a weird place to go when you're trying to get into like that area. So I don't know if he's picking someone up or what's happening in this scene.
Your parole. What ended you up back in Stillwater? Now, I saw some rough stuff on your part.
So Stillwater is a town that's north of the cities. I think there must be a prison there, I believe. But yeah, it's a nice area in town otherwise.
But nothing in the nature of a homicide. I know you don't want to be an accessory to something like that. So, you think you might remember who those folks were who called you? So, you're living in Edina then?
Oh, yeah. A couple of years now. It's actually Eden Prairie, that school district. So...
Oh, gosh, okay. So, Edina, I live in Minnesotan, which is right next to Edina, and Eden Prairie is right next to that. So, that's like where I live in that area. Eden Prairie at the time in the 80s was just starting. So, I remember even when I was in elementary school, Eden Prairie was still kind of like just becoming a city. And so now it's like a super popular area to live. But back in the 80s, I feel like it was really, really starting out to be what it is.
Oh, Chief Gunderson then.
Goes like this. Let's find each other tonight. Everything will be all right.
You know, I bet they filmed this at the Chanhassen Dinner Theater because I've been there, and it looks very much like this where there's tables everywhere. I wouldn't be surprised if that's where they filmed it.
Don't hesitate now. Let's find each other tonight.
So, later.
Okay. I'm going to predict what happens. I have not seen this movie. I do not know what happens. I feel like he's going to die somehow, like the dad, which would be really sad because I actually really like him as a character. I think that he's very like protective and he makes the most sense. Like this guy, the William H. Macy character just is like such a loser. I don't like Oh my god. Oh my god. I knew it. I knew he was gonna die.
His wife, this guy says she was kidnapped.
Okay, so this is, I can tell, is the wood chipper scene, which I'm a little nervous to watch, but here we go.
Those 3 people in Brainerd. And for what? For a little bit of money. There's more to life than a little money, you know.
Okay, so I have now officially seen Fargo. Definitely had some twists I didn't expect. I felt like the movie was kind of slower than I expected, except for obviously the scenes where there's a lot of violence. I felt like the whole story took a long time to actually get going, and the whole story was kind of interesting. I mean, it definitely did remind me a little bit of the show, but the show obviously had a lot more episodes. When it comes to actually from a Minnesota's perspective, I feel like I thought it was going to make fun of Minnesota a lot more. It really didn't. And obviously that's probably because the people that were running the movie are from Minnesota. And so they obviously have a huge respect for it. And so that's why I do like the Coen Brothers movies more than some of the other filmmakers that make movies about Minnesota, where they, like, for example, New in Town. I don't know if I might react to that one too. I've seen it once before, but basically there's a lot of stereotypes that are in that movie, and they obviously filmed that one in Canada as well, so it's kind of weird. So this one was actually filmed in the Twin Cities mostly, as well as obviously some other parts, and it felt like it actually took place here. I feel like this movie seemed very realistic, and I think that's why people kind of reacted to it over the years, is like, it seems like a movie that could have happened in real life, and it definitely was one that I have now seen, and I don't know if I'd watch it again, but I thought it was an interesting story, and I can see why people like it. It's very well shot and definitely has some interesting things in it. So let me know if you guys want me to react to more Minnesota-based content. There's quite a few movies about Minnesota, and I would love to give my perspective as a Minnesotan. So hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time.